Yeah, a bunch of people coming. Okay, here we go. I think we are live. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, hope you had a good lunch, some water break. Healthy, right? Yes, good, good, good. Very good. We're establishing the right habits. And I think that's a big part that we need to do individually with our clients and as a society, obviously. So for the next half an hour, 35 minutes or so, I want to talk about, first of all, green and lifestyle prescriptions, which is kind of the focus that we have as an organization. And then also a bit more about the root cause analysis. What does that really mean from a lifestyle prescription perspective? So first of all, what are green or lifestyle prescriptions, right? I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but I always wondered why nobody has done that yet or pushed that to be used in health practices. Now we know, I don't know, percentage, 90% of people go to a healthcare professional and majority get a prescription, right? Diagnostics, medication, whatever that might be, which is okay, right? That's where we are right now. But what, and I'd like you to envision that or visualize that. What if a patient goes to a doctor and the doctor has only 10, 15 minutes? Unfortunately, that's the way the system is. But let's say high blood pressure. Well, what's the typical treatment for high blood pressure? Statins? Yeah, would be one, right? For example. Let's just take this as an example. Now, what if that doctor would talk to the patient and say, well, we have an option to go the lifestyle medicine route, which would be all about lifestyle modifications. So we're looking at the root cause of the issue, change lifestyle, and allow our body to go back into this natural state of health. Would that be a good thing? Yes. It would be amazing, right? And so that is really our drive, our passion to bring green or lifestyle prescriptions into healthcare offices, practices. Now, let me explain the difference, because when we started about a year or two ago, kind of researched what's out there. And I was so surprised that New Zealand actually, for I think the last 5 to 10 years, they're officially using green prescriptions. You can go to their Ministry of Health website. So they had programs where they actually encouraged the healthcare professionals to write green prescriptions, which is mostly exercise, fitness, nutrition, and also smoking, ceasing smoke, and so on. So it has been used actually pretty successfully. Now, let me actually continue here. So it's about healthy living, right, that we want to focus on. Healthy living and using a tool of writing a lifestyle prescription to really empower our clients. Now, let me talk a little bit about the healthcare system, because I think one of the things that whatever I've done in the past, I always kind of ahead of things, and I kind of learned to kind of step back and see where we are right now. Because often we have visions that just can't be applied into this current reality, right? And I think this is one. Lifestyle medicine is going to be difficult to be applied because we have a system that is very limiting, right? So, in terms of primary care, there's not a lot of time per client. The whole insurance system and the structure is set in a way it takes a lot of energy and strength and willpower to step out of it and have a private practice like Spina was saying. And so that's the fact, I think, and it will improve over time. But what if we use this concept of greener lifestyle prescriptions in practices, and if it's a GP, a doctor, having just minimal of time and referring clients that are open to this new type of lifestyle medicine to a health coach that works, oops, let me go back, that works with that clinic, with that doctor. I firmly believe this is very doable. And the nice thing is, for example, we have one doctor in the US that uses this concept, and he was saying it was very difficult for him to integrate these kind of health coaching, lifestyle medicine concept in his practice. He says, I don't have time. He talks like that. He's so fast, so he doesn't have time. No, he doesn't have time. It's just he has 10, 15 minutes, and he doesn't get paid, right? He can't spend a half an hour, otherwise he doesn't get paid. So he said he's using lifestyle prescriptions for a while now, and says the nice thing is that it doesn't take that much time. You can do this in 10, 15 minutes. Now, it doesn't mean that's a full session, that's a full coaching session, right? But the key is awareness, I think. That the ones that actually should be in the center of healthcare, which is the healthcare professionals, doctors, that they give patients options. And some choose still, like you were saying, some will choose the pill because it's faster supposedly and might have side effects or whatever, right? That's okay. But at least there are options. I think that is where we need to start. And so from my perspective, and I hope that's happening soon over the next years, might take longer, that more and more health coaches start to work with traditional medicine, clinics, doctors, and there's a more synergy going on, more working together. And so I hope you get out there and educate people and talk to them and really inspire others. And I think the more we talk about this, the more it will happen. Now, are you ready for a short experiment? Well, I haven't heard you. Say it again. Yes, everybody? Okay, so what I'd like you to do, yeah, that would be nice. You get, it's just a piece of paper, right? If you want to, maybe just, everybody can join in here. So it's just a piece of paper, but think about it this way. In our mind, in our psyche, right? How likely will you follow through when a doctor tells you, take this prescription with authority? Most of the people out there will follow it, right? Because there is authority there. There is a plan there. So the same concept applies to green prescriptions or lifestyle prescriptions. So what I'd like you to do, if you hope you have a pen, and by the way, everybody listening online, you can just take a piece of paper and use it that way. What I'd like you to do, just think for a second. And we keep this really simple, right? I'm not a medical doctor, so it's not a diagnosis, it's not a treatment here, it's an experiment that we do. What I'd like you to do, think for a second, I give you a minute. What could you do right now? What things in your life can you change that you feel really would make a difference in your health and the way you feel? We all know, right? At least a few things. Okay, so think about that for a second. What could you do that you start the moment you walk out here that you don't do anymore or you do? Like, for example, if you still drink a lot of sodas or have certain eating habits, pick something small, right? Don't say, I'm going to go vegan today. You could, if you feel it. If you feel it in your body and say, yes, I know that is something I know I can do and I will do. Yeah, and then pick that. Or start really small. Yeah? So it could be, I'll just give you a couple examples. It could be exercise related. It could be nutritional related. It could be perception related. How you see the world. Right? Which is our mind, how you perceive the world. It could be emotions, that you feel a certain set of emotions a lot. Or it could be that on a regular basis, you think about something. Who has this little voice in their heads, right? We all do, right? Where it's like suddenly I'm upset now, or I'm sad now, or I'm thinking about this person, that person, right? These automated beliefs and programs that we have. So we're talking body, mind, social, which I go into in a minute. But pick one tiny thing. Everybody has one? Mm-hmm. Now write it down in a statement form. So you give, for exercise purposes, you give yourself a lifestyle prescription right now. But write it down with a conviction that this is what I'm going to do. The paper shows it to me. Right? So write it down very short. What is it that you going to do in terms of changing a habit that's going to give you more energy, makes you feel better in your life? So write that down. And also if you listen online, streaming, same thing. Yeah? And if you've done that, then take it home, put it somewhere where you see it every day. Right? Maybe in the morning you woke up, it's right in the mirror, or in the fridge, or wherever you see it. Because then we establish this pattern, we establish a new habit. Right? So from my perception, everything we do, or most of the things we do really, are habits. Right? Even health or disease processes are habits. Right? And I want to go into this in a minute. So are you okay? Everybody's good? Yes. Feel it. And then we're probably going to set up online a little feedback loop where we'd like you to kind of give feedback. See, how did you do? Did you follow through? Because that is probably the biggest issue that we have as health professionals. If we work with lifestyle medicine, right? How do we help our clients change their habits? What kind of tools do we use? Yeah? Good? Yes. Excellent. So let's go back to green and lifestyle prescription. There's a slight difference, really. With green prescriptions, it's more the generalized type of lifestyle modifications, which is basically lifestyle medicine, right? Where let's say it's based on stress management, it's based on nutrition, exercise, and social support, love and support to increase these different areas or decrease the stress that is related to them. Many of you probably kind of do this already, right? I would say. Who kind of does that? Maybe not in a written form yet. So, please, use this process as a written form. Because what it's going to do, it makes it more real for people. Right? So it's very easy to do. You can do this right now. Right now. Put this down on a piece of paper, very specific, either. And actually, if you know Dean Ornish, right, is one of my heroes because it's just what is done in terms of research. I think it kind of started this lifestyle medicine movement. And he was saying in the research they found there are two ways how you can change. One is small, tiny habits, right? For example, just today, from now on, I don't drink Coke or soda anymore. And you establish that, and then do another one. Another life improvement change. Or you change really big. What makes the difference?
That it's actually something you want to do.
Exactly, it's motivation. So if I, for example, are so motivated that I say, I do anything, then a big change is perfect. And they're going to do it, right? But if they're not sure and there's doubts, then probably a small change is what we need. There's actually, we're doing a movie right now, a short film, that's part of the Lifestyle Medicine Summit. And we're going to have a segment in there, don't tell anybody yet, which is really funny. There's this guy, Tim Urban, I think, he's saying about procrastination, right? He's saying basically there is this rational part in us that knows we need to eat healthy or do whatever, right? And there is the monkey part, which is the unconscious monkey. I do it later, and now that the burger smells so good, right? It's kind of the deep biology that just wants to do whatever he wants to do. And then there's the panic monster, right? So at some point we reach a level where the panic monster takes over and says, oh my God, deadline, right? And so it's kind of like the same with health, that people that actually, often when we get really sick, right, the likeliness that I change are much higher than I'm kind of doing okay, right, because the panic monster hasn't kicked in yet. And it's all about motivation, really. So motivating our clients is, I think, a big, big part of this. Now, the difference to lifestyle prescriptions is kind of unique to how we do it, is really looking at the root cause from a very specific perspective. Which I go into a minute. So basically, a lifestyle prescription would look very specifically at the timeline where the client is in terms of that healing process, and which specific stress trigger, which specific emotion, which specific beliefs, thoughts that we have, and which specific lifestyle choices affect very specific organs or organ tissue. It was a lot. But that's kind of the core of it, because I think that science proves that, and we see this in so many areas, that the body is incredibly smart. This autoregulation of our system is actually there all the time, right? It wants to kick in. Now, we can go and have more generic approach, which is fine, which is kind of the green prescription approach, or be very specific, right? And I give you in a minute more example, but let's, for example, what's a good example? For example, let's take the skin, because it's always a nice one to look at. So somebody comes to you with eczema, right? Eczema, maybe here, red, inflamed, hot skin. Now, we could say it's nutrition, it's, could be many reasons, like you were saying so nicely, right? The cause of the cause of the cause, right? But the more we go actually to this other side, the root cause, we might find that this person, just when the symptoms started, had kind of a loss of touch situation. They separated from someone. They had a divorce. They experienced a certain situation in their life where they wanted to touch the person, but it was just kind of taken away from them. And that creates stress in the body. And the body and mind, we think about this all the time. The body starts to react. And the interesting part, once we just focus on that, right, that perception of the loss, then the stress starts to dissipate, and the body automatically goes back. Obviously, nutrition and all the other things are absolutely essential. They're important, but the more we know what specifically triggers certain symptoms, I think the easier it is to work with, right? So that's kind of the difference between green and lifestyle prescription, the way we define it. And obviously we want to go to this root cause. Now again, this organ, mind, brain, and social connection, you both talked about that before. I think that's the core of it. That it's not just the body, right? And often, unfortunately, I see even in lifestyle medicine, integrative medicine, there's a lot of focus on the body, and we kind of miss the other things, right? Our emotional state that has a powerful effect on our body. Science also, lots of science out there that proves that. Stress, but not just generic stress, but specific stress, right? I mean, we've seen, like with clients and our situations where we just let go of a certain set of emotions. For example, a client with stomach ulceration. Now, with this mind-body connection or organ-mind connection, we know the stomach mucosa the ulceration is connected to anger, right? But not just any anger. It's this anger that has to do with I'm fighting with someone, because you see people that have that often have these life situations where they, let's say in a job, right? They have to fight their way up, or have to fight with somebody a lot, or that's their perception at least. So that anger is somewhat connected to that organ tissue reaction, to this ulceration. They change the way they feel about this. They let go of that anger, and suddenly the ulceration starts to improve because that stress, that pressure is not there anymore. And so in a way, it goes down to biology, right? Where our body is just really smart. And often we don't trust it enough. So this is one of the models we use where there is this direct link between specific symptoms we experience, the organ, tissue as we call them, and emotions, lifestyle choices, stressors, beliefs, life goals, as you were saying. So that's rather specific. And actually, it's let me maybe give you a couple examples. And I want to ask you this, because it's really common sense, first of all, and I think we all deep down, we know it. What's the stomach for? Digestion, right? But is it only for food digestion? Emotions, right? Anything that our body has to digest, the stomach somehow is involved. What are our eyes for? Seeing, right? Visually. Now, what if we see something very fearful in front of us? Would it make sense that actually the eyes somehow do react too? Yeah. They would, right? And from the example before, what's the skin for? Touch. Now, here we could distinguish between the outer part of the skin, the epidermis, right? Which is that sensitive touch connecting with someone socially, versus the leather skin, the dermis skin, which is below, right? The acne is more the dermis skin. That has much more to do with protecting ourselves, right? But anyway, let's stick outside skin. It's touching. Now, does it make sense if children or babies, what's the most important person, contact person in their life at this moment? The mom, right? Like they're almost glued to the mom. Now, what if they experience kind of a traumatic situation where sometimes hospital, sometimes at home, mom has to go back to work and the mom disappears? Does it make sense that actually the skin would react? And then we see these eczemas, neurodermatitis in our clients. And now, if we know that's the connection, wouldn't that be helpful? It does, right? Because we can be more specific. We can just address the core issue much, much quicker. So it's all about the body's intelligence. The body is super smart, really, and we want to kind of decode that. It's almost like, the body tells us exactly what we need to do once we have this decoding mechanism in place. Another thing that we use a lot, is this phases of healing. What does this look like? The Chinese yin yang, right? So it's Chinese medicine very much uses that. Susan knows you're in China a lot, right? And because my wife is Chinese, American Chinese, and so we've been in China quite a bit. And I was into this. It's amazing. If you ever go to a traditional Chinese medicine hospital in China or Beijing, it's amazing. Right? It's still used a lot. They're using actually kind of an integrated form because people go for many illnesses. They go to traditional Chinese medicine, and you use traditional Western medicine as an addition. So it's actually a very nice combination. But they know about this yin-yang kind of rhythm in our body. And from a Western perspective, we would say it's this sympathetic versus parasympathetic activity in our body. So usually the way it works, and that's kind of a simplified form, but as you can see, something, and you said that so nice, it's been right, this functional medicine uses a similar concept. Something triggers us into stress. Let's just keep this open what that is for now, right? Could be many things. Could be a conversation. Could be maybe think about this for a second. How often did it happen for you that you had a conversation that, wasn't so bad, really? You didn't expect that suddenly afterwards you got really angry, you got really sad, you had suddenly thinking about this so much. And we all had this, right? Did you notice actually that from that point on you went more sympathetic, so there was more stress hormones? you should have measured your stress hormones at the time, right? So you become more stressed, more sympathetic. Let me go to the next one here. So that's this fight-flight response, fight-flight-freeze response. And, we have a set of symptoms in this phase, right? Which, the easy ones that you can, for ourselves or for our clients, if somebody can't sleep well, then they are very likely in the stress phase because they think about something all the time that doesn't allow them to sleep, emotions, thoughts, or situations in their lives. Another one that actually, and that's only the women in here, by the way. Did you ever notice that sometimes you wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, I lost a pound or two? Yeah? Then you were just in the stress phase. Right? Because of the water, we kind of, lose a little bit of weight usually. And there's these little changes that we see. Whereas in the regeneration phase, the second part, when we're parasympathetic, we gain a little weight. There's more water in our body, edemas, and so on. So anyway, so this is very easy to find out, and when you, because you're all therapists and health professionals, so maybe ask clients that, right? If there are more in a stress mode over the last few days or even weeks or month versus this, the parasympathetic, which is actually after we stressed, like, let me go back here. So we chased by what is that? Is it a cat? Tiger. Okay, we chased by a tiger, right? And that's the archetypal or the biology, right? That fight-flight kicks in when we feel danger is near us. The only difference is that we as human beings, we're so sophisticated, right? We hear a sound out there that we heard a while ago, many years ago, and it remembers us, oh my God, last time I heard this sound, somebody beat me up or did whatever bad to me. And so we are constantly looking out for that sound. We don't want to deal with it, right? And so these tiny things can trigger us off. And so after the tiger is gone, what do? Right? Body says, well, now I need to regenerate. And the typical symptoms that you're probably going to see in yourself and in clients are this fatigue, tired, exhausted, inflammations. Often, or many times, clients come to us in this phase, right? It's interesting. From our perspective, it's actually part of the repair process. And there's also science to show that, obviously. That our body needs to repair and regenerate, and we actually feel sick. And what we actually did is missed that before was a stress that we so far didn't connect. Like example, what is called the weekend sickness, weekend headaches, right? Like I'm going Monday, I have to go to a job that I really don't like, that stresses me very, very much, and I'm okay during the week until Friday lunch, right? And I don't feel so much of pain or stress, right? Well, I do, but it's just masked because I'm in the sympathetic stress phase, right? I go home, and from there, my body says, kind of unconsciously, now I want to regenerate. Now I need to repair. And then we might have a headache. We might have a little flu, or we might have, other symptoms appear. And that is our body basically just saying, well, I want to relax, please. Let me repair and relax and regenerate my body. So knowing these cycles is, I think, very, very helpful. How much time you have? Does it make sense? Yeah. Now I'm just kind of scratching the surface here, but basically the way we work with lifestyle prescriptions is just to be as specific as we can to find out specifically, is there a certain emotion, is there a certain stressor in my life that would affect me or a specific organ tissue? And let me tell you one question you can ask yourself and your clients, which is this: what's the function of that organ tissue? I think that helps always. It helps me, right? Like with the skin, it so much makes sense, right? if I want to touch someone, and there's a situation in my life that stresses that part of me, then very likely that skin will react. If I have, let me give you another example. The lungs, also in Chinese medicine, right? The bronchial mucosa, for example, is very much connected to fear. And maybe I should tell a story about you, my son Sandro. When he was younger, he had like this coughing, like the larynx, right? And he couldn't talk like this, right? And it was so interesting because, it was just happening after Halloween. It wasn't hot. We still lived in Los Angeles. And there was this big ghost coming down, like this Hollywood kind of mansion where we were just like strolling around, basically. And this ghost came down because they decorated everything for Halloween. And I remember both of us, we were, and 3-4 days later, he couldn't talk anymore. So my point is this. Now, for some of you might think, well, is that really that close of a connection? I just like to stimulate you to not pay attention, to notice, because the reality is we can really, once we become a little bit more aware, we can notice these little things that trigger us into the stress and then the regeneration phase or the repair phase. Oh, okay. So, questions? No questions? No, I'm sure you have questions. Yeah.
What's your best answer for someone who would say, so take the example of skin, with eczema?
Right, so the question about the skin?
Specific area of eczema. And when you're explaining the concept of this to a layperson, if they come back and say, okay, but yes, there was a loss of touch with your mum, say, but what about the next person who also had a traumatic loss of the mum but has never had eczema? So why
Great question.
And not another?
Great question. So the question was, what if one person had eczema and there was some kind of loss situation, like I could not separation often in life, and the other one had the similar situation, but there was no reaction. Well, maybe think about it for a second. Why would there be? If different people, exactly. We are so different. We can't, like you said, we have 4 Ps, right? One is personalized. Everybody is totally different. It applies to nutrition. It applies to like our personal perceptions. Now, one person that experiences this situation not as traumatic or intense, then the physical reaction would be obviously not as much. And nutrition, how is the nutritional situation? Do they have high vitality? So there's many factors, obviously. But a good point. Everyone experiences life situations differently. Now, all I'd like to do at this point or today is kind of ask the question and ask you to think about these connections between our body and our mind, which is mostly our emotions and our beliefs, and the lifestyle choices that we have. And another aspect is the social aspect. Because I think we totally underestimate, and I think Dr. Lawson was saying that, we totally underestimate the social component. If we live in a certain environment, and it's not just the toxins in an environment, but the people in an environment, the people we live with, the stresses we experience in our life that do affect us. And again, that's why, for example, in Dean Ornish's study, it wasn't just nutrition that he studied that shows actually that cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, coronary arteries, coronary heart disease, he was showing that they are reversible. And even the telomeres in our body, right, in our cells, they can be extended, which means we live longer. But it wasn't just nutrition. What did he do? It was nutrition combined with yoga specifically, which basically is a combination of mindfulness and physical exercise in a way, and social support. So these combined really make the difference. Yeah.
Have you
to yourself personally with doctors going to the other side with,
Okay, you have to explain that. So doctors going to the other side. What does that mean? I'm sorry, but sorry. No. Okay, I'm sorry. Please ask again. Please again.
In general practice, there's a long tradition of the balance, which was a kind of combination of psychotherapeutic understanding and medical expertise. And so for decades, GPs in particular, and now in some hospitals, have been thinking, what's the context, what's the significance of this symptom for this person? And I'd like to recommend a particular book by a really dear colleague of mine, which is called Patients, Their Symptoms, and the Doctor.
Patients, Their Symptoms, and a Doctor. It's a book you recommend that kind of talks about the psyche, the mind, and health. Excellent. Thank you. But to your question, yes, you know what? I'm talking to so many health professionals, doctors, and I think the desire to see a different type of healthcare system is there for almost every single one. The question is, can I do it? And there has, I think, the Functional Medicine Forum, which is nice. They have like the research done, a survey, right? The problem is that you don't get paid as much when you go to the more lifestyle medicine side, at least so far. You have to be suddenly marketing yourself. The structures are differently. I mean, there's so many things that make it actually so much easier to stay where I am. But there is such a need. There's such a need, and there's such a desire to change. And I believe firmly that the majority of doctors would move right away over time, maybe not right away, but over time, to more lifestyle medicine approach if they could. But how can we help? And maybe I should have asked this question to you. Maybe we have a little panel now. We asked this question to you. How can we help our healthcare professionals, doctors, to actually see there is another way? And I think a big part is education. Get out there, talk to the doctors, the nurses in your community, and establish connections. But please in a way that is respectful and supportive. Yes, please.
I think one of the big gaps is in the system of education, because doctors are trained to look just at symptoms, and they know nothing or very little about nutrition. If you just look at their curriculum and the way they are trained, and then of course that's what they know. Right. That's where they stick.
Yeah, good point. Like education has to change, and I think it is changing. Yeah, exactly. I think I just read an article that even UK, right? Maybe we ask the question again later. That nutrition starts to find its way into the universities, but for many of us, it's probably not fast enough. But luckily, it is changing. So, last question, and then Annie's going to come on.
You said that there's nursing staff. It's new thing that they're currently going to start sending them to learn alternative practices. But from what I gather, it still doesn't cover main stuff like matrix. Stuff where you can have some life-changing effects. But hopefully, if they're going to start sending nurses for alternative, it means that their door starts to open.
Right. So basically, that nurses, I'm just repeating for online, so that it starts to change. That nurses start to be the ones that very likely learn this. It's the nurses we need, exactly. We need everybody to really switch and change. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it for you being here online, listening. And all I want to do is motivate you to get out there, educate, and create this community. We need to come together. I think we said that a minute ago too with Despina, that if it's integrative medicine, functional medicine, lifestyle medicine, whatever the name is, we are very close. And one more thing I want to say about nutrition, which actually I think Dr. Katz was saying in this interview I did with him a couple of weeks ago. He said nutrition is one of the biggest controversial issues, right? I mean, we all have so much charge. Everybody thinks my nutrition is better than the other and all that, and that is fed by the media, by the press, by everybody that has a stake in this. But the reality is this. At the core, if you just take all the outside stuff away, at the core, we pretty much know what every one of us should do, right? And so that, I think, what we need to focus on. Not the difference between us, but actually what unites us. Thank you so much. So let's continue right away. Another 20 minutes or so with Annie. Annie, let me just introduce Annie. Annie Gedier, and basically, I pronounced this wrong. I'm sorry, Gedier. After so many years, I still pronounce it wrong. Annie is a bone practitioner. I mean, so many different practices. She's versed in, I don't know, in like energetic medicine, psychotherapy methods. You studied at you taught at a college some years ago. Bowen, physical therapy, and also obviously working with lifestyle prescriptions and the root cause analysis. She's absolutely wonderful. She also teaches at our health coach training. So welcome, Annie here. Thank you, Annie. So here, let me put this on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While Johannes wires me up, don't know how you're going to I'll hold the other one. Okay, I'm going to need to look at my notes as well, because the memory at this point, I'm going to use yours as well, Dr. Lawson, is by the end of it, you think I should have said all of those things. I wrote them all down, but let's just get that up. There we go. Okay, so what's that? Oh, yeah, I'm holding all these things. Thanks. Okay. And when you get also to my age, we need things. So when you change the way you look at something, the things you look at change. Now, Wayne Dyer said that, and I read somewhere that he actually was inspired by Max Planck, some particle physicist or whatever, yeah, and he was inspired to see that honestly, as you change your thought and your perception, life brings you proof of it. And I'm sure you all know about that effect. It's like, but it's true. It's true. It's because it's your belief. The moment you change your belief, you start looking at life differently. And what are beliefs? They're thoughts we think. So this is a really, really important place to be cognizant of, that we can change not only ourselves, but the clients that we work with as well. Okay, so much has come out that is just so exciting that we can all introduce. And what I'm wanting to do is to probably skip through a few things, but just give you a few examples of possible ways to introduce into your practices, into your lives. How can we start making changes that are not too intrusive, or that when people are ready to become the vegan overnight, it's to support the person in front of you or yourself, and not make it that it's too big and scary. I want it so that just examples through maybe a few clients that I've had, or, kind of experience and things, to see where we can actually look at changing aspects of our lives, okay? So that you can immediately start adding things in. Like Johannes said, look at, are they in stress phase or regeneration phase? They're all those symptoms you can look at. It's just such a good marker. And you can immediately get feedback from them and give them something that, oh my goodness, it's a process. I'm not sick. I'm in a healing process. So that's very empowering, and I think we need to be empowering of our clients. So let me just get these out here. And also just remember, as Johannes also said, we are, whatever I say, take it in the context of your practice. If you're a medical doctor or you see clients for maybe 10 minutes, you can do something in a minute, okay? If you have a whole session, like an hour or an hour and a half with somebody, you've got far more chance to do a lot of the lifestyle prescriptions that could be just given out in a minute, but you might do 5 or 6 of them in a session or more, It's just whatever you have at your fingertips in the moment. So, I think this common sense, we'll stay there for the minute. The common sense must prevail. And I think, Johannes, you also mentioned this, very often it is whatever you see in front of you is what it is. There's no deep, dark, hidden meaning. And I think this is where our case study, our case history comes in very important, that we need to ask the questions. What medications are you on? Is that actually causing the symptom that we could go off and do all sorts of, other things on, but it actually it's the side effect? Or did they have a traumatic accident that they actually broke their back? That's why there's a problem there. Really basic things. If the light doesn't work, check the plug. It's the common sense things. And then go into exploring the green prescriptions, the lifestyle prescriptions, and taking it deeper. Another thing that I came across is the chiropractic point of view. And this is really interesting because they deal with the nervous system all the time. And their premise is structure governs function. And this could be something that obviously people who do body work, and I do body work, you look at the physical body and see what is affecting the rest of the organs. And it might be that, as a kind of like with functional medicine, there is a protocol. It might be in your practice you think, you know what, this person needs possibly checking out, is there something going on in their spine? And the lifestyle prescription is send them off to an osteopath or a chiropractor. They can check out the nervous system. Is there something in their back being compressed that is affecting the liver or the bladder or the whatever? And check those out first. That is a lifestyle prescription. We are not having to solve everybody's life and problems ourselves. Remember, we can take on a coaching role. And as a coach, you don't have to know everything. It's really important that you can know how to refer on, what you can do as well. I'm kind of talking through a whole lot of my slides at this point, but we'll skip things. No, don't worry. We'll skip things as we get to them if I've covered them. So, yes, also, and just, are they allergic to something? They could have an allergy. Now, that is a whole other field in itself. But it could be that, the red eyes are because this tree is blooming. And then you can look at, there's lots of ways to look at allergies and things, as you all know, in different modalities. So that's the common sense. And we all have heard about what green prescriptions and lifestyle prescriptions are. They're not green, as far as I'm concerned. Lifestyle prescriptions include green prescriptions, and we just take it a little further, really focusing on the emotional impact, the beliefs, the patterns. We look for patterns in our responses. What has happened again and again, and I'll actually talk through a couple of examples as well. Okay, yeah, let's go on to 2 because I think we've kind of, okay, thank you, Johannes. So the awareness, I think all of us have brought that up, is awareness of what is going on in our bodies, because so often we just go and say, fix me, give me a pill. This is the culture that we have been brought up in, that we will get a quick fix, with virtually no responsibility on our side at all. It's my responsibility is getting to be in front of our doctor, who will then fix me, or in front of our therapist, who will then fix me, because we use natural medicine often as an allopathic treatment. And I think we don't give our actual body enough of a voice, enough of a chance to heal itself through creating an environment that is more conducive to a healthy body. We want to fix it first. But what we do is we listen. We want to hear, what are the emotions involved? What are the beliefs? It's really important that we find those out. As Johannes and both of our other speakers have said, there's so much evidence out there. Candace Pert, years ago, 20 years ago, she wrote, what was it called? Molecules of Emotion. Fabulous information, and there's loads of evidence to show how our physiology is affected by emotions. So with this, the awareness, so we work with education. awareness is education, isn't it? So educating our client, how do we do that most effectively? And I know I find myself saying the same thing to everybody. And I was actually just talking to you, Rob, before about what is coming in through James Maskell is, having groups. And I think a lot of progressive medical practices also, where they will bring in a group of clients, and they will then discuss asthma, arthritis, and educate them all. What is the best thing to do? More exercise, less exercise? What sort of nutrition works best with this? And then we can focus on each person as well. But then you get the general information out there to everybody. And they've got a community to work with as well. So, okay, so we will bring awareness, and we reframe, release, and we retrain. The reframing is so important. If you've got a belief, that, as we said before, that's the proof you're going to see of what life is, because we see it through that framework of reference. And if we change that, if we reframe that, life can change dramatically. It's our perception, all about perception. Like your excellent question about, 2 people, but actually I was going to say that later, 10 people can see the same thing, and we'll all have a different way of describing it, which means we've all had a different emotional response to it. And also different organs will respond. If you respond with fear or anger or whatever, we'll get, lungs or gut or bowel or whatever responding. Releasing. Now, this is where we can release the emotions if you are trained as any emotional release therapy. You can do it yourself, or what do? You refer on. This is the most important thing I think we must remember, is we don't have to do it all. We just need to know how to get your client to their best health individually. And the retraining is retraining the brain. And how do we do that? Either with the micro habits or with a major change. And some are just gung-ho and ready to change. They walk in and say, that's it, I've cleared my whole fridge out. I've thrown away everything with a preservative in it. I want to change. Yeah. But they have to have something, some backup, some support. How do I do it? Now what do I cook? If they've lived on junk food all their lives, they don't know how to feed themselves. What do you suggest? Where do you send them to research it, to do whatever they need? So it's about support. And I absolutely am with you all about getting groups together of people growing and learning together. And we can be catalysts in our environment, in our communities. You were just saying to me how you've already brought your community together and given a lifestyle medicine talk. I think that's fantastic, and just enthuse them and get them motivated, and also realize the power is in our hands. We are so disempowered with the system as it is. We don't have a say. We don't have the knowledge either of what is actually happening. And I think the empowerment of our clients is so, so, so important. Okay, so let's see what the next one says. This was, for me, when I started working with Johannes and this information, I realized through the information of every organ, tissue has its own response. And we can be really quite specific with that, like when Johannes was saying a specific organ, a specific emotion. It is that specific. And we are not victims of just random illness, which is what most people think. I've been struck down with this. I've got arthritis now. Okay, you've spent 50 years putting your life in a situation that's going to manifest it through all sorts of lifestyle bad choices, perhaps, maybe thoughts included in there. So every symptom is a meaningful biological process. And as you know, in functional medicine and in naturopathic medicine, and certainly in a lot of other modalities, is that our biology, as Johannes was saying, think, what does it do? And then what is it now telling you that it can't do anymore? And then look deeper into your life. And that is this is profound for me. That for me was one of the major kind of ahas. And that's another thing, actually. When we have a really big aha, you shift your mindset and you never look at life again the same. You know, it's like you stretch that rubber band and and you can't ever get back into the little mold that you were before. So let's have a look. Yeah, okay. Go back one. Thanks. I just want to say something else about this. On that very thing, I'm really keen that we, you must stop me because I'll just keep going if I'm on a roll. I'm very keen that we, as health professionals, keep learning, keep our minds awake and alert for new information that may be of use in your practice. Just for instance, this Tuesday, I had an email from What Doctors Don't Tell You, Lynn McTaggart, and she highlighted research from Boston University Medical Center, where they found that patients doing yoga and deep breathing exercises 2 or 3 times a week, have I lost my place, get better results than drugs for lifting major and chronic depression. Wow! That is a piece you can just give a client and say, you know what, how about looking at that? Because we don't have to know about how to deal with depression. I'm not a psychiatrist or, I can't give drugs and things. But I found this research, maybe you'd find something really interesting. And how could you take that further? You see, a client will write their own lifestyle prescription very often. If you are coaching, health coaching them and guiding them through with the information that you know. And of course, sometimes they come up with a blank and you can help. You can guide. That's the whole thing. This level of awareness, just one thing. Einstein said that a problem cannot be solved from the same place as it was created. And that's where when we have that aha, we get a new perspective from a higher place. And that's where we can actually find solutions. Okay, so that next slide is just, let's go there, Johannes, thank you, is what prescriptions could you bring in right now? Body movement. We've all said we need to move. I wrote down for my lifestyle prescription, I'm so wanting to get a desk I stand at, and you stand all day. And I'm earthed into the earth. I'm full of negative ions, so my body is like getting massive amount of antioxidants all the time. And it's just, that's what I need to get that and stand. I don't do enough movement. So movement of any type. And you ask the client, what do they like doing? You can't say, because I'm not a physical trainer. What do you like doing? What did you used to do? What would you like to do again in the future? Would you like to try something different? Maybe you can find something that will stimulate your body's immune system, or you might find that with knee joints, it might be better in water or something like that. It's very, very common sense information that you can often give them, but it's a point. And it's something you can do right away. Nutritional support, the same. We've spoken about that a lot today. I just loved that song, Rob. I just absolutely loved that Eagles song about the nutrition. And the organ-specific theme-related lifestyle prescription is what Johannes was mentioning earlier, and I said a little bit about it. We can be very, very specific about what we can offer a client with that through the body-mind social structure. Social, by the way, also is not just people, it's environment. Just remember, it's not just relationships, it's environment. And it's also, in the bigger picture, our relationship with the environment. So there's a responsibility as well from a higher place. There are many levels that we work on. We can work on a basic physical level where, people are just not ready to even acknowledge that they have emotions. Like I always tease my husband, this is him happy, him sad, him joyful. It's all going on inside. Always, and I tease him, is this your happy face? And some of us wear it on our sleeves, you know immediately what we're thinking and what we're feeling. Observation of patterns. Now, this is a lovely one to work with clients if you've got even just a minute, is to say to them, when do you feel angry at other times? If they've got a stomach problem, it's like, is there quite an anger in your life? Oh, well, yeah, when do you feel angry? Just a simple thing like that starts connecting them with their physical, and then notice, do you get stomach pain before, during, after the anger? How far after? How far before? And that kind of connection is really good for them to start connecting with their bodies, their physical bodies, and the emotion, because emotions equal physiology at the end of the day, in a very simplified form. Change work, that doesn't mean change your job. That's when we do change work, internal change work, to reframe beliefs, to release traumatic emotions that are locked, frozen in our physical bodies when we experience either a real trauma or a perceived trauma. Because as we said before, something that is incredibly traumatic to me may be absolutely nothing to you. It's our frame of reference. And it's all individual, nearly. Okay, thank you. And of course, our daily micro habits. That's where amazing work can happen. Because if you think about it, like a clock turns, with all those cogs. You turn one little cog over here, and it's a huge effect at the end. It's all change. So if you do those, it's like drip, 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 drip. Water can drip through rocks. Okay, so don't go there any further, Johannes. I think I just want to tell you, there was just something I wanted to say here. I'm just going to do one case study of a not so obvious way to use a lifestyle prescription, or any prescription. It's with a client I had who had mumps, young girl, 23. And a lifestyle prescription or any green prescription is very easy if it's a chronic pattern. But if you get a one-off pattern, like mumps, we hopefully don't get that too often in our lives, what do? Is there a way, or do we just go, oh, well, I'll just do I'll fix it kind of thing, or we just let it run its course, or we just raise the vitality with nutrition or something, which are all good. So with the analysis based on the body-mind-social connection, I'm just trying to shorten this here for you. So, story. Her boyfriend cheated on her and she was unable to accept that information. Okay. So the glands in here where the mumps are, the parotid and all these glands, I'm sorry. In a hurry, parotid, sublingual, whatever, maxillary. The duct swells up and the gland expands with the saliva. It can't get out. So that's what we were looking at, what she had. She was in a state of, her words, because I say, well, what are you feeling? Just tell me because these in her head, monkey mind. And she said, I just can't swallow this. It just sticks in my throat. She was using these words, all around here. So of course, sticking in her throat, the saliva isn't there. It's like not there to help this information. The man gave some kind of not really plausible excuse, and she accepted it because she wanted to stay in the relationship. But the interesting thing is that with the lifestyle prescription for her in this case was in the form of addressing the beliefs, because the beliefs jumped out at me. What she said was, well, I'm not good enough for him. That's why he went somewhere else. I just can't keep a man. Men are not faithful to me. I don't deserve him anyway. So the lifestyle prescription in that kind of case would be something like, how would these beliefs play out in your future life? And would they serve you? And what she might say back to me, which she did, is, well, I could sabotage relationships and leave them so I am not left first, as it were. I could be on my own all my life as a result of this. And then ask, well, how would you prefer to be? And these are things you can either do over time or all in the session. And she said, well, I realized that he was an idiot to do that, and in the end, he lost me because of it. He was obviously not the man I need to be with, as he is untrustworthy. I can do much better than that and will address this feeling of unworthiness, because that was the core. You see, there was something else going on there. And this is where you can use this to not just leave, oh, okay, she's fine now, but what are the beliefs? What are the emotions? How are they affecting? How could they affect? And you get people sometimes 20 years later, and you can follow this pattern because it's a recurring trigger. I'm going to stop now. Has that been useful? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how that.
Yeah. Okay, are you still fit for a little Q&A? Yeah? So maybe we put a few chairs here and sit here, the four of us, and maybe just think until we're ready, think about some of the questions you might have, and then we do another few questions, 10 minutes or so. And I hope it's okay with the mic situation here, because we have internet and local, so I think I just have to do it this way. I'm going to walk around and do this for you. So we also check online, obviously, if there are questions online, and we will try to answer them. So who wants to be first? And if you can keep it short, I repeat the question so we see it also, we hear it online. Okay, he wants to be first. Question?
Could I ask
yes.
the Boston research on depression the last week?
Oh,
The source, yes?
yeah. So actually, by the way, before I forget, everyone gets emails of the next few days, probably next week, not next few days, but next week, about some of the PowerPoint, some of the links, right? And just let us know if you need anything like this link from the Boston research, which is really amazing. So
It's Boston University Medical Center.
But we send that link to via email.
That I got from the What Doctors Don't Tell You.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
yeah.
good. I'm going to sneak behind you. Okay, other questions, please.
With the yoga one, because I sometimes come to contact with people from a very religious perspective, and yoga is just a no-go for them. Absolutely. So it's finding different things.
So the question, let me repeat the question, please, so everybody hears it online also.
I know that any form of exercise is going to help me keep up a lot. But there's certain people, certain religions that do not. 7 days Adventists, they will not. They don't want to hear about yoga.
Right.
They don't want to hear about yoga.
Okay, so let me please repeat. So the question was, if somebody, let's say, yoga would be a thing to do, yeah, then certain religious reasons they don't. But there are many other forms of exercise that I think yoga is the uniqueness that it's conscious exercise with breath and movement and mindfulness. So there's many other options. And I think what Annie was saying, we're always saying, it's being very specific, individual, finding whatever works for them. I believe exactly, yeah. Yes.
I have a question. Sorry, it sounds a bit stupid, but I'm an arrhythmia specialist. I'm a doctor, and I'm just trying to figure out where exactly is the scope of practice of the lifestyle prescription. Is it in the prevention? Is it in the treatment? In the rehabilitation? So, because it makes in my practice, it's really difficult for me to make any lifestyle prescriptions in case I'm missing some symptoms, what I mean? So for someone that is a coach, someone that is, say, not a doctor, it might be a bit easier, but for us, where is our scope of practice? Is it everywhere? You can always do lifestyle prescription, and I'm very scared of missing an important diagnosis if someone comes to me with a rush right now. It's not the case because I'm still in the hub anyway. So am I just missing an important autoimmune condition like lupus, or is it because this little baby hasn't lost their mum?
Right. So the question was basically, what's the scope of practice as a medical doctor? And it is not an easy question. I mean, not an easy answer actually, because we are in a system that is somehow, often they still to combine the traditional with the more integrative lifestyle is not an easy thing right now. I agree, but I think all we're trying to say today really is that looking beyond the physical side of it, the biochemistry, and looking into the mind and social components, and if it's not possible with a network with your own network to work with more the lifestyle medicine, create one. That, for example, having a health coach you can send someone to. But I think that's a bigger question that all of you would like you to answer, if you don't mind.
No, I do agree that it's along every area where you can use a prescription. So you might see something when you're doing a diagnosis that would be helpful, like they're describing to you that they're eating junk food all day long, then you know that would be something, one small thing that they can do that can change the outcomes. And if they tell you that they're in isolation because their family moved, you can encourage more community activities. So it is something that you can do yourself when you hear something that seems obvious to you, or something that you can refer out if you feel that they have bad posture and they can use someone that can help them with spinal issues, etc. So it's kind of having it in the back of your mind and seeing where it's applicable and how you can use it to help them, especially if you see them time and time again. You might see some patterns being repeated.
Yeah, but I guess this is, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess this is also a bit tricky because I say that exactly the same way as you do, but someone else might think it's nothing to do with any diagnosis. There's no problem behind that. It's just you just need to eat more veggies, and you have a big problem. So I believe that we also need to set up the roots of education. Yes, and the roots of where lifestyle prescriptions are applicable, and because not everyone will be okay.
Yeah, you mean patients, right? You mean patients. Yeah. Okay. So actually, Dr. Lawson, I'd like to ask you, because that is very much from a medical doctor perspective. So I guess I reframe the question a little bit, which is, so there are, how many doctors are in the UK? I don't know, 50,000 plus. So if they're in a situation like this, they want to start right now integrating lifestyle medicine somehow. How would you answer that? What kind of advice can you give at this point? Also addressing the question that you had. So I give you both here.
Well, thank you. It's a very topical question. It's the way you think, isn't it? It's the way we think. We are thinking people. We are educated in a certain way. And I think the point has been made that how we're educated is an issue. We are very pharmacocentric, the way we're taught. We're not taught about nutrition. I went through university, I went to school, I don't think anybody ever mentioned nutrition. So going right back to the beginning, it is certainly an education, but we've also got to start thinking differently. In a 10-minute appointment, there's plenty of evidence that brief interventions do make a difference. So you can actually start the conversation. And as I don't know, is it GP that you're in? Are you in child practice?
I'm training
cardiology. The continuity bit is the good bit in British primary care, anyway, is that you likely are going to see the same person. So you're going to get that support that was mentioned while making these changes. But there is another way, and I briefly mentioned it, and it's called shared medical appointments or group consultations, where instead of you repeating yourself time and time again, then you're in a contact with 14, 15 other people. You're having a one-to-one context consultation. But how that individual has responded, if you like, there are 14 other people in the room that have their own contacts, and they share it. And so you get the peer-to-peer support, the peer-to-peer education. It's a completely different way of practicing, but there's a very large evidence base to suggest it is actually better than the one-to-one that we have been brought up with as physicians. So I think that you're already more than 50% of the way there. You're already thinking differently. And that's what we have to do. We have to think differently as people who are delivering the healthcare, and not to be so frightened. We need to be a bit more liberated. Yeah.
Can I just thank you, Dr. Lawson. Just one thing, I don't know if any of you saw the program on TV. We had a double, the doctor who gave up drugs, Dr. Chris Van Toniken. Do you remember how much difficulty he had convincing the patients to actually, I mean, he was sitting there with nobody there, and it was like, come and have a consultation. And they were, and one of them said, well, I've come in with this and I want to go home with an antibiotic. And it's patient-led. And this is how they've been brought up, never mind how we've been trained or, as doctors. So it's both sides need education. Is my little tuppence worth? Yes.
Thank you. Can I just say something? That doctor
Yes.
was speaking about, I wrote to him because I thought, you know what, he's got influence. He can actually influence because he's on television, right? And I wrote to him and I said, listen, if you need help, let's band together. I haven't heard a peep from him. It's that kind of persistence that we need to have, because one day he's going to respond.
Oh,
That
we
invite
Yeah.
him to the meeting. I was straight up these people who've got platforms and voices to speak out. And
Well, look at Dr. Regent Chatterjee. He is speaking up.
So let me repeat the question. So the question was, in a way, like there's the ones that will go out there and educate others, to work together. I think that's very important, and I think also to.
He's got an agent who makes tons of money.
Let me say something to that. Let me say something, because I think that lifestyle medicine practitioners should make a lot of money. You know why? Because if they do, that means it's successful. More people go into lifestyle medicine. I think it's the reality we live in, if we like it or not. But I think that's a good thing.
Because we affect 1 billion people.
And let's bring back what Regent Chatterjee is doing. He did the doctor in the house. So he showed on TV how you can reverse diabetes, and now he's brought the functional forum here to the UK so that he can bring more practitioners together and form more of a community. So it's all about us doing that in our neighborhood, whether that's in the Whole Foods or whether that's in a gymnasium somewhere. Bring it in, show people how to cook, show people how they can do easy things every day to make themselves healthier.
Okay, let's do one more question, please. Yes.
So one of the things which you've mentioned is the social, but we haven't specifically spoken about therapeutic relationships. And to my mind, that's like absolutely the core and the hardest thing for us to get hold of is our sort of psychosocial interactions with other people. So I'm just putting that back out. That's really just conservation. Is that relationships are absolutely key.
Relationships.
We are in our society, actually.
Right. So relationships are key, and the societies we build or the communities we build. Absolutely. Thank you. So one more question. Yeah.
Say one thing. It's not a question.
Okay.
It's the alternative label. You get labeled as alternative, and it's traditional. If you look back over hundreds of years, what we do is traditional medicine. It's not alternative. It's just going back to basics. It's common sense, but sense isn't common. So,
Actually, let me ask Dr. Lawson again about that. I'm sorry, you're popular. No, about that concept and about being often labeled as too alternative and it's not evidence-based and all that. And what would you suggest to GPs or health professionals in general? How to address that, or how can we improve that as we go along with on this journey?
I don't like the term alternative. I don't mind the term complementary. I'm going to upset a lot of doctors here. In the medical profession, we do have a slight arrogance. We think we're right and everybody else is wrong. it's not bad to actually broaden our vision a bit. I think it's beginning to happen. I'm whispering that, but I think it is beginning to happen, which is good for everybody. There are some people who will not change. The evidence has to be there, and it has to be the evidence that they believe in and that was done in an appropriate way. We saw from the video about the nutrition, about randomized controlled trials, cohort studies, and all the rest of it. Generally speaking, you can find evidence to suit the particular belief you happen to have. So we have to look at, in my view, the 80% that we do agree on, everybody agrees on, and let's work together on that bit and tolerate and be mutually curious of everything else that goes on in a respectful kind of a way.
I think that was absolutely perfect. Everybody online for being here, spread the word. And all I'm going to say is watch out for an email, right? You get the PowerPoint, you get the information about the links we shared, and stay engaged, okay? Stay engaged. Get out there. Educate people around you. And we're going to make a difference. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Close completely.